How to know if your seller is the problem. Now, excuse me, I'm gonna call out your seller, so don't show him this video. But anyways, reason number 1, he's booking broke leads. He doesn't check if they actually can afford it. He fills the calendar with people who cannot buy. He's booking anyone who shows up in the DMs and wants to jump on a call. And he keeps wasting the closer's time. And we all know that closers need to use the time more efficiently than the sellers, right? So if your seller is booking anyone who's able to jump on a call, that's a huge red flag. Reason number 2, he never disqualifies anyone. That's kind of just a continuation of this. But as I said, he says yes to everyone. He books anyone who's able to jump on a call. He's afraid to say no to bad leads. I'm telling you, there are leads that are directly going to tell you that they don't have the expenses, the money to work with you. And if your seller still books them, I wouldn't be working with him anymore. No, I'm kidding. He prioritizes volume over quality. And as I'm saying, quality is much better than volume. Quality should always come first before any kind of volume. Until the close rate is over 30%, I wouldn't even focus on the volume. If your close rate is under 30%, I would just focus on the quality. Bye. The reason number 3 is that he's booking people that are just curious. And what I mean by this are leads that are just there to know more info, mostly about the pricing, right? So they don't have any real intent. They don't even want to buy it. They most likely don't even have the money if your seller didn't qualify. And these are just people with no urgency. Simple. Reason number 4, he doesn't confirm calls. And call confirmations are the most important shit ever for the show rate to be on point. If you're not gonna do call confirmations, the show rate is gonna be fucking bad, okay? So if your seller is doing no reminders before the call, if he lets the leads forget or go ghost, that is eventually gonna lead to a low show rate because there is no follow-up. Reason number 5, he ignores objections in the DMs. Your seller cannot let any objections slide in the DMs. The reason why I'm saying this is because it's gonna take so much more time on a sales calls to handle these. And if your seller is gonna be able to crack these objections in the DMs, it's gonna be much easier in the DMs, like obviously, and the sales call is gonna be much more efficient and much more closable. And I was at this point once, where I was scared to handle any objections in the DMs because I didn't even think it was possible. But trust me, the leads see the authority of you as the master, and it's so easy to break anyone's objection in the DMs. You would be surprised. I mean, especially your seller would be surprised if he's not doing this. That goes to reason number 6. If your seller is blaming the closer because he has a close rate of 10%, he's yada yada yada, you know, he's just, if your closer seems bad, it's probably not his mistake. It is your seller's mistake most of the time, because he never takes the responsibility for lead quality. He ignores what happens before the call, and he uses the bad closer excuse for bad setting. Who do you think is gonna make much more money? Do you think that the team number 1 or the team number 2 is gonna make more money? It's obviously gonna be the team number 2 because of the elite seller. Because if you're gonna have an elite seller who's gonna be able to handle any objections in the DMs, as I said, and who's gonna do all of the previous steps and what I'm gonna say after this, the elite seller is always gonna outround the elite closer in this point, you know what I mean? So, and then if you have a bad closer, it doesn't even matter, because he's just gonna have super high qualified leads on the call who are ready to move forward, because the elite seller is gonna make sure that the sales call is there for a reason. And that reason for a sales call is gonna be to just move forward. So if you have an elite seller, there is not even a need for closing, if you take it that way. If you are gonna have a really elite seller, you're not gonna even have any objections on the calls. But you have to have a good seller. If your seller doesn't track results, and he has no idea what works and what doesn't, he cannot improve because nothing is measured. Then he repeats the same mistakes blindly. How could you expect anyone who doesn't track their results to improve, to get better at some point? That is just not possible. Reason number 8, he treats inbound leads like outbound leads. I know you probably don't get it, but let me explain. So inbound leads are the one asking for help. You need to really take this into your heart, okay? The inbound leads are the one asking for help. We don't need them. They need you, you know? I would get this with outbound because you're reaching out to them. Never bend down for the lead in any way. They need help. So never make it seem like you need a sell. You need to get them on a call. You don't need to. Doesn't matter if they got your lead magnet. Doesn't matter if they just watch your video. It doesn't matter if they just ask for your help. You have to be like the master that doesn't need him, but they need him. And you cannot make it seem like that you just want them to go on a call and then you just want to close them. Reason number 9, pre-call notes. If the closer goes into call blindly because of your setter, the close rate is going to end up at like 10%. If there is no context on the lead situations, the close rate is going to end up at like 10%. If your closer is going to be wasting time asking basic questions again, the close rate is going to be around 10%. So that is what eventually leads to a 10% close rate. And the reason number 10, no improvement. If your seller has the same results every single day, every single week, every single month, and every single year, if the results are just not changing and they are bad, I'm not talking about the seller who's booking like over 5 calls per day, depends on the lead quality. If he's booking enough calls per day, like, and he's at his peak, I'm not talking about this, okay? But if your seller has like if your seller is not booking anything and the results are just weak, and he still have the same behavior, he's still acting the same, he's being like off, he's probably just demotivated, but he still has to move. So if there's no improvement, make sure he tracks, and make sure that you're gonna have someone who's gonna coach him, either if it's gonna be you or a seller manager. Otherwise, he's not gonna progress, and you can just fire him straight.